Brandeis is on almost everybody's list as one of the top three justices in our history, usually along with Holmes, and of course at the very top is Chief Justice John Marshall. And I think one reason for this is that the agenda he set out in the 1920s, primarily through dissents, informed the rest of the 20th century and still do. He is one of the men who suggested the doctrine of incorporation by which the Bill of Rights is applied to the states. In Olmsted, he laid down a constitutional basis for right to privacy, something that had not been thought of before. And although it would take the better part of 40 years before the court finally caught up with him, it essentially overruled Olmsted, which was a prohibition wiretap case, and held that you needed a search warrant for a wiretap, and also established the idea that privacy is not just a question of physical limits, but also a place where one expects privacy, in one's home, one's car, someplace else. And in fact, one of the stories I like to tell is that just a few years ago in a case called Kelo, Justice Antonin Scalia handed down a very Brandeisian opinion in which he struck down the conviction of a marijuana grower because the police had been using a heat sensor to look into his house to see if there was a heat signature, that you get from growing marijuana like that, and they didn't have a warrant. And he writes an opinion that says, even though the police were outside the premises, they were looking in, they were violating an expectation of privacy. And of course, I think Brandeis's greatest opinion is Whitney versus California, in which he laid down what continues to be the basis for our First Amendment free speech jurisprudence. Up till then, Holmes's idea of a marketplace of ideas had been the best that we could do to sort of rationalize the First Amendment. Now, why do we need free speech? And Brandeis said that in a democracy, the highest role that any person can play is that of citizen. And that means that not only does a citizen enjoy the benefits of democracy, but has to partake, he has obligations to engage in public policy debates to decide which way society goes. And you can't do that unless you have been exposed to all sides of an argument. So we need to have free speech, not just for the speech we agree with, but for speech that we don't agree with, that makes us think about it, so that we can then make a rational and intelligent decision. And the Whitney rationale has been really the basis of First Amendment jurisprudence ever since the Warren era.